Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our City of Beaumont regular council meeting of Tuesday, February the 9th. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Just as we get going, I'd like to acknowledge that we are pleased to be here today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6. We acknowledge all those who share a deep connection with this land. The City of Beaumont respects the histories, languages, and cultures of all of Canada's First Peoples, whether they be of First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciates that their presence continues to enrich Canada's vibrant communities. We are all treaty people. As we also start the meeting tonight, we do have one proclamation to read. It is Black History Month this month, so it is my pleasure to proclaim that this month. Whereas the national recognition occurred on December 14th, 1995, when the House of Commons unanimously agreed to a motion presented by the Honorable Jean Augustine to recognize February as Black History Month. And whereas Black History Month sought to level the imbalance in historical perspective and has become an important part of multicultural and anti-racism programs. And whereas Black History Month in Canada is essential since it educates Canadians, few Canadians know that slavery once existed in Canada, or that many of the British loyalists who came here after the American Revolution were Black. And whereas Black History Month recognizes the important sacrifices and contributions of Black people to the development of Canada and the world, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor John Stewart, do hereby proclaim February 1st to 28th, 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Beaumont, Alberta, dated this 9th day of February 2021. So once again, thank you all for coming. And for those members of the public that are watching, Councillor Munkoff-Swain is trying to get on, but is experiencing technical difficulties. So hopefully he will be joining us soon. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight, Ms. Winter?
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration has no suggestions or amendments to the agenda this evening. Thank you.
I get a member of council willing to move the agenda as presented. Councillor Barnhart.
So moved, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Ooh.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That carries unanimously. Oh, we almost had Councillor Munkoff-Swain. The consent agenda tonight, there are 3 items. I would move that council consent to approve the following agenda items without debate. Item 5A, special meeting minutes of January 21st, 2021. Item 5B, regular council meeting minutes of January 26, 2021. And item 5C, special council meeting minutes of February 2nd, 2021. We're missing committee of the whole minutes? Well, I'll check on that later with you. Anyway, discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor? And that carries unanimously. All right, we have no public hearings this evening. There are no registered presentations, which brings us to item 8A, the St. Vital land lease. Mr. Suter.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Thank you for having me this evening. I've got 2 agenda items. The first one is the St. Vital Parish Catholic Archdiocese land lease agreement with the City of Beaumont. And the recommendation administration is here with tonight is that council approve an agreement to lease lands owned by the Catholic Archdiocese of Edmonton with the terms as presented. This was something that we started a dialogue in 2020 with the local parish about the opportunity for the city to take over lease of some of their property, mainly the open grass area, otherwise known as a toboggan hill, as an opportunity for potential recreation programming, spontaneous use, and other cultural or city events. Those conversations continued. It went through the Rec, Culture, and Parks Advisory Committee to see if they were supportive of that. They were. And of course, they had a bunch of ideas going forward as to what potentially we could do on that hill, on that space. I brought this topic to council or committee of the whole, December 15th, 2020. And at that time, it was directed to prepare a lease agreement and bring back for ratification. Since that time, administration has worked with the Archdiocese, and we've come up with a agreeable agreement for leasing that land for 5 years with an annual fee of $1. The only real caveats are from their perspective is we notify them of what our intentions are for events ahead of time. And they are hoping we do not enter in any permanent structures on the land. However, anything that is temporary, we would have to notify them, and being a good neighbor, a good tenant, we would have those conversations. Legal has looked at the agreement as well as our insurance, and there is liability for protection on both sides. We had hoped to potentially create a parking space on that land. However, going with that, we are just going to be responsible for clearing snow for access on the north side from and upkeep on the property for the year has already been factored in the 2021 operating budget. And I think there's a map attached. I think council has been able to see the land we're talking about in your package. Basically the toboggan hill, which a little piece that comes up on the flat space on the northeast side. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shooter. Appreciate the update. It's a great program. Just as we get going, I'd just like to remind council as we start to debate this that we're just finalizing the land lease tonight. We're not trying to program it. Any ideas for those type of upgrades, things like that, aside from the basic clear the snow, cut the grass, should be coming through a budgetary process. So just trying to focus the conversation a little bit. Is there a member of council willing to move the motion? Councillor Hendricks.
Your Worship, thank you. I move that council approve the agreement for Beaumont to lease lands owned by the Catholic Archdiocese of Edmonton with the terms as presented in our documents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll open it up to questions and comments from members of council. Councillor Hendricks, do you have any questions or comments?
If I could just add, if you will,
Sure.
this is, I believe, a win-win-win for Beaumont. This is a great parcel of land, in the heart of the community. Certainly well positioned for recreation, and I think a great gesture on behalf of the Archdiocese of Edmonton, and certainly the reciprocal from the city of Beaumont. So good day today. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you, Councillor. Let's see who's next. Councillor Stout, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk, followed by Councillor Daniluk. Councillor Stout.
Your Worship. I'm sorry to report this. Mr. Souter, I was suffering from some audio dropout there while you were presenting, and you mentioned car park, but I didn't hear very much beyond that. Could I please ask you to wind back a minute or two and just refresh me on that, please?
Thank you, Councillor Stout. I guess I cut out. I was advised there, so maybe everybody missed some of it. So apologies for that. Yeah, we had initially intended on creating a parking space on the flat spot on the northeast end. However, through the development application at this time, we're not allowed to do that under land use. So we are just going to abandon that for the meantime. We'll look at that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So there's the potential, I suppose, for parking problems, but no worse than we already have.
We've been working with the parish to promote on-street parking rather than the church parking lot. And through the use of signage and some communications messaging, it seems to be working. On the last conversation last week with them, they're quite pleased with the community's response in that regard.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councillor Daniluk.
Oh, thank you, Minister. I thought Steve was going to go next. Sorry, I wasn't prepared, so no problem.
Andrew, I assume he dropped out of the order.
Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry. A quick comment and then also a quick question. I want to congratulate Councillor Hendricks, who began this conversation with the Archdiocese. I remember, I think, several years ago, and through change of the Archdiocese and personnel and also the city, he kept the idea going, and it came to our Recreation Committee as an idea, and it came to council back in December. So thank you, Hendricks, for getting this done. That's awesome. Keep the thing alive. I think it's a great idea. My only question, Mr. Suter, would be, I know we talked about, we're looking at a 5-year lease. Was there any consideration for doing longer than that, or it's 5 years gets us started and we'll see what happens in 5 years? Is that sort of the how we got to 5 years, please? Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you, Councillor Downlick. Yes, there was conversation about beyond that, but I think both parties at this time are just will evaluate that as we go along to see that if it's actually working before we commit any longer than that.
Follow up, Counselor? You're on mute. Good. Okay, appreciate that. So appreciate the comments from members of council tonight. This is a great opportunity for our city and to be able to do some neat things in the heart of our downtown. So anyway, at this point, seeing no further requests to speak, no further questions, we'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the lease? And that carries unanimously. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Which brings us to item 8B, recreation facility ice removal. And I guess a grander recreational facilities due to the province hamstringing us on Saturday there. Mr. Suter.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm back again, Council. We had this conversation last council meeting last Tuesday, and I apologize. We had a request for decision document submitted for the agenda package, and as of Friday evening, I was quite confident with the direction we were going in and the recommendations in that RFD. And then Saturday morning, everything changed yet again. And we've had to be adjusting ever since. A new order has hit my desk 4:42 yesterday afternoon, and I have been going through it as well as a lot of the staff, the rec staff have, to try and understand it fully. And it's not easy to understand it fully. I'll preface that. As it stands, we, as of last Tuesday's decision, we were opening the BSRC, Beaumont Sport and Rec Complex, for school activities, school programming only. We had remained closed with the community center and the Ken Nickel Regional Recreation Center, as all of those were mandated closed with that exception in that previous order to open for school activities. So that was, council supported that. We're moving in that direction. And my recommendation was leaning towards taking ice out at the Ken Nickel. And then Saturday morning, the new order came out and that changed. So what we've been faced with now is we're looking at rentals for user groups for under 18, basically youth groups, whether it be sport or any rec group, potentially is allowed to now use our facilities. So to keep it at a high level conversation at this point, as there's so many moving parts here, and even comprehending there's some contradiction in the order of what we see, as well as what we're hearing through the health inspector and what we're trying to sort out. At this point, administration would recommend that we open the community center, the BSRC, and the Ken Nickel, and we will allow permitted user groups to operate if they can and will. We've had a lot of dialogue since Monday morning, and I was hoping even, for example, minor hockey was to give me an update just before the meeting here. They've now committed to give me an update of what they'd like to do tomorrow morning. So that's what we're faced with, council. It's not, I don't have answers on a lot of this stuff, but I think at this point, if we want to look at it as a service delivery, we know a lot of these groups are going to be permitted under the new order. So if we open for that purpose, again, they're not open for the public, they're open for the rental opportunities for those groups, provided they are able, willing, and are able to, organize to meet the protocols that are required. So going forward, if we're permitted to open for that use, we will adjust. We have to bring back some staff. I don't know what the hours look like yet, because we don't really know what the load is, the demand for whether it be ice or gymnasium or field house. We're anticipating a lot, but again, as you can imagine, if we're scrambling effective Saturday till now, all these groups are doing the same thing. So I think the safest position for the city right now would be to say we will open for permitted use only in those facilities, and we'll evaluate that as it comes. So that's my update, Your Worship and Council. And again, I don't have a lot of answers on some of this stuff. It's very moving, and neither does anyone, it seems, at this point. So I'll turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suter. I appreciate that. And I know myself, I'm always a big supporter of trying to get kids back out and into facilities and doing activities. Although I do have to balance that need with the city and trying to be pragmatic. And so from going to the fact that we have we've only had this on our plate for 2 days, we don't really know what that uptake would be, do we? By the user groups.
There's, we don't have a firm answer to that, Your Worship. No, we just anticipate they're trying to pull it together. Some of the smaller groups, I think, will certainly uptake. Minor hockey, for example, is a larger group. However, just this afternoon, Hockey Alberta, for example, put a bulletin out saying that they can have 2 groups of 10 on the ice at the same time, as long as they're separated by 3 meters in the room and on a goal. Yeah. So you can see if they keep adjusting on the fly, there's a good likelihood they're all going to try to do something if we make it available.
All right, so I'm willing to support the recommendation to open it up for permitted uses. However, I'm going to throw a caveat on it, that it's a cascading opening. Like let's program up the BSRC first before we go opening the community center, before we go opening the Ken Nickel. I mean, there's no point in running classrooms in the CCBCC being open if the ones in the BSRC are empty, just to try to keep our staffing and stuff down. That would be my one thing. So I'll make that motion that we open up for permitted uses, and I will open it up to questions and comments from members of council. Councillor Barnhart, Councillor Monkhouse-Swain, followed by Councillor Barnhart, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Maybe I'll pass this off as speaking of kids and wanting to get them to do something. I've got one coming in right now, so maybe Councillor Van Newkirk will go, and then I'll circle back in a second. So sorry about that, guys.
All right, Councillor Barnhart, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I might have jumped ahead of Steve there. He might have had his button up before I did, but you okay, Steve? I go ahead? Good.
I'm just looking at how it came up on the big screen.
So I as well think that opening under the restrictions but following the rules is a good idea. A little bit of a difference from what you said, Mayor. I was wondering if there would be an opportunity for the administration to come back with an operational plan as soon as possible, just so that we can see that the thought has gone into that. I know they can't get that done before they open. That's probably not going to work. And I appreciate what you're saying about cascading it and doing it gradually, but I don't think council's in a position to make that decision. I think that's a decision the administration has to look at what the numbers are, or what they think they're going to be, what the costs are going to be, timing, et cetera, restrictions. So at some point, sooner rather than later, I think council should see an operational strategy or plan. But I think the decision to go ahead makes a lot of sense.
Your Worship, can I answer to that?
Your Worship says muted.
Realize you need it. Anyway, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we would certainly look at what the load is, what the demand is, and we will evaluate that operationally to see what we can deliver and what's the best efficient way to do that. We don't want to incur additional expenses if we don't have to. So we wouldn't bring back a full complement of staff necessarily if there's just not the uptake on that. As well, I can report back in a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes if council wants, and I think that we'll evaluate on as we go.
Thanks, Mr. Suter. That's kind of what I had in mind. I think it's in your hands.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. We'll leave it with you to best manage the costs, bearing in mind that we don't want to do it. All right, Councillor Newkirk, followed by Councillor Monkhouse-Swain.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely supportive of getting the facilities back in use. The one question I had was around, the whole, how would you say it? I guess individual councillors and the mayor have probably been inundated by questions And I think it's very important that we funnel all those questions through to administration. I don't think we need to take them upon ourselves to answer, because administration needs to get on top of all of those conversations. So I just wanted to say that up front. And then as far as the uptick and the economic side of the conversation, I think that, as Councillor Barnhart suggested, as those details come to life, then, we'll look for an update from administration at that point. To put a timeline on that is probably pretty hard at this time. One of the questions that I did have that I posed tonight is around hours, and Mr. Suter said that, we don't know hours yet, but one of the questions is how in the morning are you opening, and if so, how early, right? So those are the things that you'll have to look at. So definitely supportive of getting everyone who can get into the facility for the user groups, figuratively speaking, filling the place up, booking the dance, the turf, the gymnasium, the ice, the pool, and let's go. So thank you.
And just to be clear, we're talking about youth sports and activities right now. We're not opening up to the general public for other uses.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but there's a pent up demand there that we're going to catch a wave of that. So yeah, let's get her full.
Okay, Councillor Montgomery, you ready to go?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
I came home to try and warm up and failed miserably because we got interrupted. But anyway, I'm here. So I take, first of all, thanks, Mr. Suter, for the recommendation. I absolutely agree with it. I take a more broader view in the sense of that if we look at our role versus administration, I think we're giving you the direction tonight, or it sounds like we're giving you the direction tonight to open up as many as you can, as safely as you can, on a timeline that you can do it. I'm less interested in getting an operational plan coming back. You've got the budget there. You'll be back to us if the budget is going over or anything like that. This is no different to me. This is no different than any other operational piece. Obviously, there's a lot of pent up demand. Steve hit the nail on the head for that. But if you're looking for direction, from me anyway, it's open it up to as many user groups as possible. Let you guys figure that out, and if any questions come in, we'll funnel them your way. But I personally don't need to see an operational plan or anything like that. You guys have that under control. So green light for me. Let's go. The province said that it's safe. Not our job to contradict that. So let's open it up where possible. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gosween. Councillor Stout and Councillor Van Newkirk, your hands back up. Are you coming back in the speaker? Okay, cool. Councillor Stout.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, I'd be in support of the motion as well. I think it makes sense to open the facilities up as much as we can within the constraints of the existing health orders. Just want to clarify a couple of things. This, and you've already alluded to it, this is youth and school groups only, right? So that, I think, Mr. Suter, you said under 18s?
Yes, that's our understanding, Councillor Stout, under 18.
Okay, thank you. And my other concern would be that obviously all the groups concerned have to be in complete compliance with all the health orders and changes to those that may get made in the future as well. But I'm assuming that's clear to everybody. But I just wanted to confirm again that's the case. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Danlick. I'm struggling with that mute button tonight. It's not pushing.
Yeah, mine was having trouble too earlier, actually. So maybe a system glitch possibly. Thank you, Mayor Stewart. My comments will revolve around supporting the motion. I want to congratulate administration on the juggling job the last number of months, and these little curveballs from Alberta Health doesn't make your life easier. And trying to balance the needs of our community with the rules is a very hard job to do. I'm in favor of the motion going forward, and I'm also don't require an organizational plan either myself. I'm very confident in letting Mr. Suter open up as much as we possibly can, as fast as we possibly can and as safely as we possibly can for our citizens following the AHS rules. So I'm looking forward to Mr. Suter doing the best he can to keep all the user groups as happy as possible, given the circumstance of the change in the direction we're taking now. So thank you very much. I look forward to the vote.
I'm on mute. Okay. Just having a good time tonight. All right, so just to recap, I see no further requests to speak. So moved by me that council direct administration to open up City of Beaumont recreational facilities for permitted uses is the motion before us. So call the question. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Suter.
Thank
And,
you.
let's see if we can get some people back doing some activities. Brings us to item 9, bylaws. There are none. Councillor inquiries and reports. We'll start with inquiries. Do members of council have questions for administration this evening? Councillor Hendricks.
Your worship, I sent one in earlier today, just a question about a mailbox and some signage. I'm still hearing from some people that are a bit confused. The mailbox or the unit that's parked next to the front door of the city hall doesn't really lend itself to speaking like it's a mailbox. So I'm hoping some signage can go up. There's still some of us out there that are mailing and dropping off checks at the town office front door. So that'd be great.
Yes, address that. Councillor Hendricks through Mayor Stewart. Yes, thank you for that inquiry this afternoon. We do have a sign made up. We're unable to attach it right now because of the weather, but we did put up a temporary one today. But that was a good catch. That's an upgrade on that drop box, but it sits there and doesn't look like it's obviously a drop box. So thank you for the reminder.
Well, thank you. It came back to me one more time, so I thought I'd reach out. So thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any further questions from members of council this evening? Are there members of council wishing to make a statement? Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to provide a quick update on the application by the Leducan District Regional Waste Management Authority to become a commission. This originally came to council for approval back in 2019. We were the authority was advised in January 2020 to stop processing that because legislation was due to be altered as part of the red tape reduction strategy. We were then advised in October that those changes had been made and we could proceed with the application. And we now have a letter from Minister McIver, the new Municipal Affairs Minister, advising us that we have to, and I know that you've seen it because I've circulated it, advising us that we have essentially to start the process again and reapply. So even though the process is exactly the same as it was, from this perspective, the things that the authority has to do is exactly the same as it was before, and that has already been done. So the bad news is that this will be coming back to council for council approval, that the authority becomes a commission again, even though we've already approved it and nothing has really.
The RTSP.
The authority will attempt, there's notifications and announcements need to be made and motion passed at a meeting of the authority, which will attempt to get done as quickly as possible. So I'll be bringing it back to council as quickly as I can. That's all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stout, for that update. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's I love the province's red tape reduction. Shades of the RTSC all over again. Councillor Danluck.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. Just some kudos for our administration through Mr. Schwartz to our Public Works Department. A number of our citizens reached out to me in the recent past, again, with the latest round of snow removal. All comments were very, very positive, very happy people. And I'm sure there's more than the ones who just reached out to me. My fellow councilor probably got comments as well from other people on snow removal, the latest round again. So many people are extremely happy with the work we're doing. So Mr. Schwartz, please pass on the kudos to the Public Works people. They're doing a bang up job again with snow removal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilor Daniluk. I'll definitely pass that on. I believe Jennifer's on the call as well. Thank you.
Yeah, just a brief update. I was a little bit late to the meeting, so apologies if it was covered off the top, but I wanted to remind folks that the Regional Transit Services Commission did get approved by the Minister McIver there. We did have a press conference last week and some good media that went out over the last little while there. And so just congrats to and thank you to everyone for all your hard work, administration and council for supporting the initiative. Super exciting for Beaumont as we get into a fully stood up commission. Just to remind folks, the next steps for people for awareness is the commission is going to be conducting extensive public engagement through 2021. While we've gone through a business case plan at a high level, what we really need to do is hear from residents about where they want to go, when they want to go, so that we can build out a transit system, a regional transit system that works for Beaumont residents and everyone across the capital region. So look for that in 2021, and I'll keep providing those reports back to everyone here. But super exciting news. So thanks for all the support on that. And we should play that video at some point on a council meeting. Just for the sake, I know we pushed it out on social media and all that sort of stuff, and got some good reviews. Maybe one time we'll play it in front of for a council meeting for folks to see. So, thanks.
No, fair enough. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was a great video. I agree. We should push that out. Yeah, the RTSC is a huge milestone for our region. It's been a fairly active couple of weeks within the region. Edmonton Global's put out its latest update and reports on some of the activities and things that they're working on. I'm sure there's some links on our website for those members of the public looking to see, and it's come out in members of council's weekly correspondence packages. But the EMRB is fully back at it again. We're coming into the final stretch of the term, and so we're coming to the final stretch of the last projects that we started out 2-3 years ago now, some of them. RAMP is going to come to a conclusion here this summer. Shared investment for shared benefit is going to come to a conclusion this summer. So some of this stuff's going to be coming back to council for some decisions and some support in the public realm over the next 3-4 months. We're also having the RRTMP, the Regional Transportation Master Plan, coming. So yeah, lots of work coming to the end. We're back full at it, going hard. And so look forward to sharing the results of that with council members. I'd also like to report on, I had a quick meeting yesterday with the regional mayors of the Leduc region. So we met with City of Leduc, mayors of Warburg, Thorsby, Calmar, just to do a quick check-in with our neighbors in the region. And I'm happy to report that everybody's sort of weathering COVID really well and coming through it. And it's kind of funny, no matter the size and shape of your city, whether it's us or Leduc or Warburg with 1,000 people, it's kind of interesting that we're all facing the same problems and issues. And so there's some initiatives that are coming out of that. I know that council recently saw the emergency management briefing that was put out. So some of that's going to be coming. That work's ongoing and we'll be coming back to council soon. So just wanting council to know that there's lots in the region and everybody's doing well and things are going well. And do members of council have questions for me this evening on anything I'm working on? Councilor Stout.
Oh, I think my hand's still raised by mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. Well, if there's no questions or comment or concerns for me, then I'll turn it over to the CAO for his comments and his report.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Stewart, members of council, members of the public. On my CAO update, Councilor Monkoff-Swain, I just put a bullet RTSC, and I didn't add any information because I knew you were going to cover it. You've been very passionate about this from day one, so thank you. And also thank you for the nice email you sent thanking the support staff. That was appreciated very much. Real quickly, as far as COVID, in the last 24 hours, Beaumont recorded 4 additional cases and 6 people recovered. Our active cases are now at 38. That was down to 20 about 2 weeks ago, and then we saw a spike, but it's starting to come back down. So that's good news. So there are no additional deaths, but unfortunately, we have accumulated 15 in our city, and our thoughts go out to the family and friends of those folks. This afternoon, I was on a call that included Dr. Hinshaw, and she started the call by being very, what's the right word? Candid's not the right word, but very apologetic for the announcement that came out Saturday. I can just imagine the pressure that Alberta Health is on, as is in the province. And she said that the reason they did that is the decision was made either late Friday or early Saturday to expand the opening to include not just schools and academies to use the facilities, but all those under 18. And then their question in their mind was, do we send it out now and give the munis at least 2 days notice, or do we wait till Monday? So they did make the decision to announce it on Saturday morning. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, it was done through Twitter and other social media events or avenues and not formal announcements. So again, reiterated that we're trying very hard to work together. BCC water line break earlier this week. We sent out an issues briefing to council. We are extending the closure to tomorrow. We've got contractors in there. We have a sprinklers team working in a mechanical room. We're having to replace a rather large valve that's split. So we're hoping to have it all put back together and operational by tomorrow. Should have an update for you midday tomorrow. The mayor and I had a meeting this week with Blackgold School Division on Monday, I think it was. Yeah, today's Tuesday, so if it was this week, it had to be Monday. We met with the superintendent, Bill Romanchuk, and the new assistant superintendent, Chelsea Bolcom. It was a great meeting. I won't go through all the details, but we've got a number of actions going back and forth. But I did want to share some comments that Bill made. And one of the first things he said was to thank council for opening the rinks and the rec centers to the school programming. As you can imagine, the kids are getting stir crazy doing the same thing over and over again. So he said it a couple times in that meeting, didn't he, Mayor Stewart, about how appreciative Blackgold was that council had made that decision. He also passed along some thank yous to some staff, to Paul, when they're looking forward and how they've been working together with them, and as well they singled out Everett Cook. Community policing obviously is a high on their list, and we kind of don't see directly eye to eye. Then they have a preference, we have a preference, but somewhere in the middle, the system seems to be working. So they did take the time to thank you for that, and to thank those two administrators as well. They're very excited about the multi-use field. That was another thing that he talked about. So those are some of the highlights from that meeting. Again, we've got some actions that we're going to commit to talking about, including a high school, which it looks like we should be in pretty decent shape. So those were all the update items I had for tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. There are no bylaws before us this evening. Oh, there's no correspondence this evening. Notices of motion. Is a member of council wishing to make a notice of motion this evening? No, Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'd like to make notice of motion this evening, please. Notice of motion I'd like to make is as follows: that in addition to the proposed 2 by 275 feet and 2 by 225 feet ball diamonds, council direct administration to provide council with an alternative capital cost estimate for the West Recreation site to include 2 by 300 feet and 2 by 225 feet ball diamonds.
Perhaps we accept your notice of motion, and we'll address it at the next council meeting as per procedure. Brings us to closed session. Can I get a member of council willing to move closed session? Moves in a closed session. Councillor Stout.
I move that we go into closed session, Your Worship.
Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And for those members of the public, we just completed our closed session. There's no business arising from the closed session, which will bring our council meeting to a close tonight. So appreciate council and administration this evening. We had some great conversations, some exciting things happening in our community in terms of the land lease and our recreational facilities. So nice to see some progress moving forward there. But once again, we'll call it an evening and say thank you very much, and we will see you all at Committee of the Whole next week. We are adjourned.